Hey, shalom, shalom to the nation of Israel, shalom. All right, this is your brother Kazaki out of Great Millstone, New Orleans, coming at you with another lesson through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shah, right? We're probably getting started. We want to give out infinite honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim, and Chakadash. Double honor to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone, rule and teach well, peace, blessings, and salutations be to the whole elect scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, all right? And the title of today's lesson is going to be The Elite Has Played the Long Game, all right? That's the title of today's lesson is going to be The Elite Has Played the Long Game. All right. And again, what you see up here is nothing more than just that art, okay, picture on, how things are played out, behind closed doors, man. Because we know contrary to popular belief that, hey, look, man, these nations, they seem so divided. They seem so against each other. They seem as though um, they just want to fight each other so bad and want to be, so-called the next one on top. Ultimately, it just falling right into the plans of ultimately the elite. All right, China say they got next, Russia think they got next. You know what I'm saying? But and they do all these different wars and have all these different proxy wars and different things of that nature. But ultimately, there's one agenda, okay, which is to bring, a NWO, which is a one world government, right? A new world order, all right, and basically one belief system, all right, in which Esau, Edom, the Edomites, okay, the so-called white man, will bring out technology, okay, AI, surveillance, robots, drones, okay, tracking, tracing, monitoring. This is the ultimate plan, okay, of the wicked elite, all right? And it's done so to basically have you so-called Israelites to be held captive, okay, all right, which, in so many words, people are in spiritual chains, okay, behind spiritual bars, okay, but and this devil's been working at work for a minute, all right. This isn't nothing new, right? His plan was to get the Israelites to fall, okay, you so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American, Seminole Indian man, woman, and child, into you Gentiles, which are Israelite foreigners, okay. You come looking like the other nations, but in the spirit, your father's lineage, right, goes back to that of the nation of Israel, okay, you know, and we're going to discuss, some things within the picture and just get a few precepts, you know, and here, just kind of to zoom in real quick, as you can see, what are they doing, ultimately, all right, these people are playing chess, right, and it says the long game. This is for control, basically, manipulation, and to enslave the people, man, all right, and you combine these things all into one with the news, the media, okay, like I said, and they control all those things, right? They control everything, right? Like I said, the news, the media, the what you see on TV, as far as even within the movies, the shows, they show you the plots, the plans, the schemes, okay, that they have planned, okay. They put it right there on the forefront for you to see. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, and it's really to do what? It's the right one, the people's minds would be enslaved through fear, right? Because once they release, let's say they release the robots, like what do? You know what I'm saying? You got a 6'2", a 6'1", or 6 foot, 300 pound robot that kicks and punches, execute orders at will. It doesn't have to think, right? It's not going through this whole emotional state. It just does what it's programmed to do, okay? And there's hundreds of thousands of them. So what do, man? Right? If you don't have Yahweh Shema Shai, you're finished, man. All right, that's and like I say, these devils have been playing a long game, right? That China's got they way they play their long game. Russia, so-called, the Arabs. All right, but the ultimate goal is to have everybody to have the MOTB. That's the ultimate goal, man. Okay, and everybody to be underneath so-called Esau's tracking, tracing, surveillance, monitoring. Okay, that's the plan of the elite, man, and they played it. They played their hand very well, man. And the Lord has given them their spiritual power in a sense to what's Salakia, Satan has given them their spiritual power to do so, which, still ultimately the Lord allowed it to happen, okay, and it is going to allow it to go to a certain extent before he sends his son back, which is Yahweh Shai, okay? All right, and just take a quick look at this chessboard. We see war, debt, poverty, divide and conquer, fear, controlled opposition, false solutions. Okay, and this is what they've given us throughout the year, man. Okay, you know, Babylon the Great, aka America, has always been in some type of war, right? Because basically they're basically a part of the elites sword, so to speak. They're the Lord's sword, right? But they do the work of what the elites want to get done around the earth, man. Right? A mighty military force we could use to bring everybody else to subjection. Okay, that's ultimately what they do, and that's the plan. All right. It says debt. All right. Keep people in debt. Right. Keep them owing. Right. All right. You take. The scriptures tell you that what it is for your brother. You know what I'm saying? That you can't charge usury, which is basically like unto interest, so to speak. So you can't do that, man. But this devil charges basically usury, debt on everything, man. Interest on everything, taxes on everything. You know what I'm saying? So he's always a one up in everybody that uses that fictitious money, right? That fiat currency. All right. And like I said, eventually he's going to move to digital to where he could just take it out or do whatever he wants or turn it off. Right. But that's to keep the word owing him, which keep things what? Kind of more stable for him and in subjection. Okay. It's the devil's made a great plan, so to speak. Right. Poverty. Right. Okay. The rich elite will stay rich. Okay. you know, then you'll have some people that call themselves wealthy. Some people call themselves rich, thinking they have money, but they really don't. You got the middle class, then you got the poverty line. Really, there's no middle class anymore. That's what they're trying to do out now. Is either you're basically wealthy, you're either the super elite, wealthy, or your ass is just poor, man. Okay, so that's what it is, man. Okay, keep the people poor, keep them begging, right? Keep them in debt, right? Keep the nation in war, all right? And you have what you have now, which you'll be coming into the next step, which is what? Divide and conquer. All right. The scriptures tell you that, matter of fact, I'll get it real quick. Um, and this is Matthew 12 and verse 26. And it says, and if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? Right? And I'll read it real quick in the GNT. It says, so if one group is fighting another in Satan's kingdom, this means that it is already divided into groups and will soon fall apart, right? And we seeing the Babylon, which is the basically the kingdom of kingdoms, here on earth right now. Babylon the Great, aka America, all right. It's completely divided, man. The world itself is divided, but the Babylon the Great is definitely divided. Okay, you got so-called far left, whatever. You got far right. You got same thing. Left wing, right wing. All the same bull crap, man. It's just it's one bird, right? The bird can't fly, all right, with the right wing damaged or inoperable. Okay, and same thing for the left wing, man. Can't fly if it doesn't work. Okay, you know what I'm saying? And so what you're seeing is a bird without wings. What? It's gonna plummet, right? It can no longer fly. It's gonna fly. It's gonna crash, man. Okay, and that's what you're seeing, man. You're seeing the nation divided between there's a spiritual divide, right? Because you have the elect within Babylon the Great, okay? That has to be saved by Yahweh Shema Shai, right? And then you have all these other, you know, basically, heresies, and crazy, dogmatic doctrines out there, man. That the world goes by, you know. So, like I said, but overall, the people are divided, man. Okay, you know. Let's just go to the next one. All right, fear, right? The people are within fear, man. People are afraid that their country is falling, man. Okay, they're shocked that the country is falling, right? And what people fear, they fear the things they don't know, right? The unknown is what makes them fear. It's a driving force. See, we, in Lord willing, we be of the elect, right? Of the Lord, man. We're not driven by fear, right? Because we have an understanding of what's going on, okay, and what's going to happen through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Al Shai, right? Which makes us happy, right? We know that our Lord and Savior is going to return and make everything the way it's supposed to be, man. He's going to undo all the things that the devil did in the first place, okay? So we're not driven by fear. The scriptures tell you we haven't been given let's just go get it. I think it's say First Timothy 2:7. Let's see, maybe Second Timothy 2:7. Okay, let's go. Let's go back. I believe it may be First Timothy. It could be 1:7. Let me see. Let's just type it in. So I can bear with me. Second Timothy 1:7. It says, "For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind," man. Okay, and we'll catch it real quick in the GNT. It says, "For the spirit that God has given us does not make us timid. Instead, His Spirit fills us with power, love, and self-control, man." There you have. There you have it, man. So while the world is within fear, right? Because there ain't no hope, right? They haven't been given the truth, right? Their truth is within Babylon the Great, continuing to exist. Them saving up their 401k for retirement, all right, having a Roth IRA, right? Hitting the Mega Millions or whatever they call it, lottery or Powerball. Okay, they're giving in to their desires, right? Their appetites, okay, their lust, so to speak, right? Chasing tail all day. Jake may be going to school, right? He may have given his life over to that or whatever, doing drugs, whatever it is, man. And when those things are slowly being taken away, what do people do? They run to fear, man. All right. All right. Let's go to this here. I just kind of zoomed in a little bit. It says controlled opposition. All right, and then you have that, man. All right, you got so many people that are basically playing double agent. Here in America, man. Right? Here they are. They're supposed to be American citizens, right? They're supposed to be on the side of their country, but they're just nothing more than controlled opposition. All right. I was watching a show. I believe the show name was Lioness. Okay, and they brought that up in one of the episodes about how they use a term called honey potting, right? It's called honey potting, right? They get these elected officials all the way down to the lower level people, a principal of a school, a judge, a senator, or whatever, a judge, a mayor, a some type of consulate, right? And they offer them, probably, more than likely, like drugs, women, whatever the case may be, right? They film the acts, take the pictures, they do all the things they need to do for evidence, and all they do is just, basically blackmail them, man, blackmail them to get them to do the things that they want to do, or they're gonna release the information, right? And if they do release the information, it would make what the public go in fear, the government itself goes into fear, right? Because they know they've been compromised. Okay, at the end of the day, and right now America has been compromised, man, with all these different people basically playing double agent, pretending to be on America's side, Babylon the Great side, and they're really not, man, right? They basically paid off to the highest bidder, right? Giving away all the intel and all the secrets, man. So that's another thing, And that goes back into the title right here, man. It said the long game, right? The wicked has played the long game, ultimately, you know, and it just happened, overnight, so to speak, right? You know what I'm saying? It took years and years of plotting, planning, right? Targeting the right people, right? And getting them to do the things that you want to do over the course of time, man. You know? And one more to go. It says false solutions. So, false solutions, you have a problem, right? They give you the solution, but the solution just simply doesn't work or it doesn't add up, you know. It only makes things worse, all right, at the end of the day, and that's what these people are. They like, you see the so-called president, he talks on TV, right? He gives this elaborate speech. He's going to tell the world on how they need to go about moving forward, break things down, and all the rest of that kind of stuff. And it sounds great, but it either doesn't come to fruition, or he tries it and it fails, or you know what I'm saying? It just wasn't the right way to go in general, but he made it seem like it was the right way to go, you know. So people are dealing with that. All right. Um, let's see. I won't make too much of a mention on this. I don't know if that's on the right hand side. It says they don't play for today, they play for your tomorrow, right? And we see that obviously. You know what I'm saying? Day by day, we see, these different countries taking over. China is taking over. I believe they actually taking over some of the land, here in America. We know, the other guy, I ain't gonna mention his name, but he's brought up a lot of the farmland. Okay, and we see this system, I'll say that, within a picture, and if you have a low enough score within this system, you know what's going to happen with you with that. You're not going to be able to buy things. Obviously, same thing, buy or sell. You and it says you what your risk level is high, man. Okay, so what does that mean, right? That means that you're going to be fined. That means you're going to probably go to one of those, I'll just say camps. Okay, they just come and get you, right? They use the robots to do it. So if you don't have your how about Shemel Shah on your side, what you gonna do? You know, it says distractions, entertainment, sports, sexuality, drugs. All of these are combined into one. This is what they push to the masses of people, and now you just got a whole bunch of people that's just basically completely bugged out of their mind and running off of nothing but their own desires, man. You know, the people have created in their mind their great escapes, and they use one of these outlets to achieve it, man. Right, as a vice. All right. And it says generations. We go to on the left side with generations of planning, education, media, religion, banking, government, healthcare, technology, war, and resources. Again, look at this. This is the economy, man. This is the country itself. You get a hand in all these different things, which I say they showed you that in a show Lioness, man. They had a dang principal of an 8th grade school, that had been honeypotted, right? You know what I'm saying? It basically was blackmailing them off of, I believe, some solicited acts or whatever the case may be. And it was like, he's a low level guy. Like, what's the purpose of that? You control the education system, man. It makes perfect sense, right? You get to the professors, right? You get to certain high schools, okay? And throughout the course of time, you're everywhere, man. You know, it says consume, obey, don't question. All right. It says financial trap. We already know taxed on everything, interest on everything. It's the rich is always steady finding ways to basically get richer. Education, education is trash. You get trapped within that. You see this guy, because he's in the social media trap, right? He's in the cage, right? That social media trap. All right, glued to the phone, can't get off it. And we all experience that, man. We all experience, somebody just scrolling, whatever, you're scrolling through Instagram, you're scrolling through TikTok, you're scrolling through a Rumble, you're scrolling, and you're just scrolling the whole day, but a whole bunch of nothingness, man. Right? It's vanity, at the end of the day, right? And like I said, that, education trap to get you to go to school, right? You got to go to, the education is trash. You're not actually teaching you how to truly run a business, right? You go out, get your LLC, then go out, get your EIN, trust, put everything in your trust. This is how you run the business, blah, 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 blah. They're not teaching that, man. You know what I'm saying? Okay. And to be honest with you, most people don't even, most, billionaires, I'll say that, billionaires or super rich elite, they don't go to school, man. Like, not like that. They're not going to school to get a bachelor's, a master's, a PhD, and this. They're not telling you that's the way to make money, man. No, you just got to know how money operates in order to make money. It's very simple. You know what I'm saying? Okay, but they don't teach you that in school. you know. All right. Not to go off on a deep and on that, but these are the things that they do, man. They teach you how to basically how to work for them. That's what they do. Okay, we're gonna teach you. You're gonna make money, but you're not gonna come anywhere near close to the type of money we make, right? Or really have the wit about you to be smarter, because they really teach you how to be in that cage, man. You know. All right. This one to the right, I ain't even gonna mention because for algorithm purposes, but things that have to deal with the body, that's obviously, no bueno too, man. All right, so let's go ahead and let's get a precept too. All right, because the target really is, Jake, man. All right, Jake is the target, at the end of the day. Right, this is Wisdom of Solomon 12 and verse 2. It says, therefore let us wait. So like I said, therefore let us lie in wait for the righteous. Okay. These people, gather together, the different nations or whatnot. Okay, what did they gather together against? Who did they gather together against? They gather together against you so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American, Seminole Indian man, woman, and child, man. Everything that is built within society in general is to keep you weighed down and oppressed, so you don't wake up to your nationality, to your heritage, come back to your power, and know who you truly are. It's as far as the scriptures are concerned, man. All right. It says because he is not for our turn, right? Because they know that we're separate from them, right? The elites, and even the other nations, they know, this is talking about, the elites, okay, their mindset, all right, you know what I'm saying? But even the other nations know we're not for them, man, right? They know that when we worship our power in truth and sincerity, we're on top, man, okay, because they're meant to be beneath us, okay? The earth was given to us, to rule, man. And the reason why it's so messed up is because the righteous men are not ruling the earth, and Yahweh Bashim Shai has not returned. Okay. And it says, and he is clean contrary to our doings. He upbraideth us up. So like they say, upbraideth us with our offending the law. And it says, and objective to our infamy, the transgressings of our education. Okay. So he knows, ultimately, you know what I'm saying? We're against them, man. The elites know that we're against them. All right. They know we're not going to ever be joined hand in hand singing kumbayas and all the rest of kind of stuff, man. And the Lord giving us this truth to let us know, that we know we're against him too as well, right? You know, let's see. Let's go here real quick. And we'll, not spend too much time. This is Psalm 64 verse 1. It says, hear my voice, O God, and my prayer. Preserve my life from the fear of the enemy. Okay. And this dude, we're going to need for all of this, right? We're going to need Yahweh Bashim Shai, right? You can see I think you can see like a drone here in the top right, surveillance, keeping an eye on people, an eye on things, right? Making sure you're still operating within a system. But what happens when you decide to operate without the system? You're basically, you're like a treasonist. You're the T word, and the big T word. Y'all, brothers know, what I'm trying to say here. Okay. You're enemy ultimately. Okay. That's what you are. You just simply are enemy, to the elitist, okay, and they got to find a way to, get you out of there, okay, because they can't have a so-called, they'll call it some type of rebellion or some sort or whatever, right? Because the objective is to get rid of the truth. You get rid of the prophets of Yahweh Bashim Shai, you get rid of the truth. But we know that's not going to happen. The Lord is not going to allow this devil to complete his plan, man. Okay, the Lord is going to step in and intervene on the behalf of the elect, right? You so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American, Seminole, Indian man, woman, and child, right? All right, and this devil's going to pay, man, right? He's going to give his men spiritual power, right? All right, let's go back to that real quick. It says, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked. It says, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. Okay, and this is it, man. Okay, basically the secret councils of the wicked. I'm not saying everybody, all the different nations are on this exact panel or anything like this. Is just art. Okay, but they do have these think tanks, right? They do have these sit downs. They do have plans, all right, devices put in place to do what? All right, to keep us down, man. Okay, to keep us docile and out of our power, man. Right, and which this is set up by Yahweh Shimon Shah. But ever since Jake started getting riled up in the spirit, and this is in a negative light, you know what I'm saying? But I believe they call it BLM or whatever. Yeah, the BLM movement and stuff like that. Jake moving that way, extra carnally and not returning to their power. Okay, even then things in the world started to happen, right? Started to speed up and different things like that. It's almost like when Jake got upset, other people also got upset too as well. That's basically what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, these are the things that, even within Jacob's wrongdoing, he has power in, man. All right. But the prophets and the elders and apostles at Great Millstone on down, have been teaching, okay, about these things to come, man. How Jacob would get riled up, man. Okay, and he gonna do his thing against Egypt, man. All right, so you're gonna get a physical side with the 2/3 that's not coming, basically in the image of Yahweh Shimon Shai, and then you're gonna have the elect, right, which is gonna have the spiritual power of Yahweh Shimon Shai, also doing their thing, man. All right. It says, who wet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. It says that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. All right, and we could get to the point here. I think this within the next two verses. It says they encourage themselves in an evil matter. Okay, these are evil matters, man. Let's make sure. Let's zoom in here. Let's make sure we create these things, man. Look on the screen. These are the things we gonna create. War, debt, poverty, divide and conquer, fear, controlled opposition, and false solutions. And that's just to name a few. Okay. It says, who shall see them? We know Yahweh Shema Shah sees what they're doing, right? The elect also see, because they've been given a spiritual eyesight to see the plans, the devices of this devil, man. Okay. And it says they search out iniquities, deep searches, man. Okay. It says they accomplish a diligent search. It says both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. All right. Let's get that same one in the G&T real quick. It says they make evil plans and say we have planned a perfect crime. See that? The planning of a perfect crime. It says the human heart and mind are a mystery, right? And it's, this man has all the ways, the Lord has had him think of all the ways to go about doing this thing, okay? Right? So there's no way out. The only way out is Yahweh Shema Shai. That's why you need him. If you don't have the Lord, right, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, and you being part of the elect, you're going to get caught up in one of these plans, okay, by the wicked elite, ultimately to take you out. It's just that simple, all right, or to get you to bow down to the beast system, to conform yourself to the beast system, right, where you're basically a servant, a slave to him forever, man. If you take the MOTB, which is that small so-called micro C hip, that's it, man. It's over for you. Okay. All right. All right. Let's see. We'll probably grab one more and then get out of there. All right. Let's go. I think it was 37 and 12. Okay. This is Psalms 37 and verse 12. It says, the wicked plotteth against the just and gnasheth upon him with his teeth. Okay, real quick, same thing in the G&T. It says the wicked plot against good people and glare at them with hate, man. And that's these nations, conform together against us, okay, to formulate plots and plans and ideas, like I said before, to keep us from out of our power, and the chief nation, which is the wicked, okay, the wicked, which is Esau, Edom, the Edomites, the so-called white man has done, and a real bang up job, so to speak, right? It's just, the Lord, had it to where, he's really done what he was supposed to do, right? Created what he was created to do. He did it. He achieved it, right? He's just not going to let him completely achieve his new world order, okay, his NWO, all right? But yeah, that's pretty much all I have, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai. Hey, look, the title of today's lesson is, look, the wicked has played the long game, man. They have infiltrated every system and prepared on all accounts everywhere to basically to assemble, to attack, and to take down Babylon the Great, man. The Lord is flawless, right, within his plans, and as brothers know, this will be a flawless victory for Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai. Easy, light work, okay? When it comes down to this devil, being put out of power, but also him achieving his plan, so to speak, achieving certain measurements of his plan, all right? But like I said, that's all I have through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying, first and foremost, to the hopeful elect, but prior to getting out of here, we want to give all infinite honor and glory to Yahweh